Hi guys, hope you're doing well. This is my full review of the iPhone 12 regular. Do note that I have made tons of reviews on the iPhone 12 mini as well, including the camera comparisons and also the battery drain test, so make sure to check that out as well. In this video, I'll also be briefly comparing this iPhone 12 regular with the iPhone 12 mini, so if you're confused between the two, this video will help you. And also at the end, we'll also see if the iPhone 11 in 2021 is still a good deal, because there is a significant price drop in the iPhone 11 and many people have actually asked me, should I go for the iPhone 12 now instead of going for this very expensive iPhone 12. So we'll see that as well. So make sure you watch this video till the end. We'll be discussing about all the aspects, the display, the design, the battery, the performance, the camera. This video is going to be a long one, so feel free to use the timestamps given below. Now the first segment is the unboxing. And the reason why I'm mentioning this in my full review is because I do think that this makes a significant impact on your purchase experience. So we all know that we don't get the charger in the box now, and you have to buy this thing separately, which surprisingly also comes in a box of its own. You get a charging cable though, which is actually Type-C to Lightning port. So your old charger won't work because it has a Type-A port. So that's what it is. You get an Apple sticker, which I don't know where we'll stick it. It won't feel good here and not also on the cover.
It is waterproof though.
You get the SIM ejector tool. I'll actually need that. You get some paperwork which I'm sure nobody reads. And finally you get this sleek box now. It fits so easily in my shelf now. So I think getting rid of the charger is not that much justified because there are several other ways to preserve the environment, and it's not like the cost went down or anything. Now let's do a quick size comparison. Unfortunately I have sold my iPhone 12 mini, but I do have its cover, so you'll get an idea of the size of it. This is the iPhone 12, this is the iPhone XR, and the iPhone 11 and the iPhone XR are of the same size, so still you can get an idea of the dimensions. So if you see either iPhone XR or the iPhone 11 actually feels a bit bigger than the iPhone 12 as well, but the screen size is the same. So as you can see, the screen size is the same, even though it does not feel like it, but they have actually managed to make the body a bit smaller so that it's more comfortable to hold, and it's still a 6.1 inch screen. And I think it has also become a bit narrower as well. This one is a bit wider. But I think even on this camera you can see a tiny bit difference in the LCD and the OLED display as well. And this is the iPhone 12 mini's size. If you see, the iPhone 12 mini is comparatively smaller with the 5.4 inch screen, and even though it is more than enough for lot many activities that you can do on your phone, after some time it does feel that you might be needing a bigger screen, especially if you're doing activities like video editing or photo editing. The iPhone 12 is actually really thicker, especially because of those squared edges, that boxy design. It makes it feel like it's a bit more thicker than the iPhone XR or the iPhone 11, because that thickness has gone in the curvature of the iPhone XR. Now let's talk about the design. Now the first thing that I noticed, and I am still getting a bit used to, is the squared edge design, because this is something that they had in the iPhone 5 series, and when I actually used the iPhone 12 mini, I actually did not align with it that much. I thought the squared edges were a bit jarring, and also if you put on a soft case, then you still felt that abrupt curvature, and you feel that in the day-to-day usage. The iPhone 11 series, which had the rounded edge design, felt more premium and more comfortable to hold, and even though they were more prone to slippage. But I must say, with the regular iPhone 12, the size and the curvature, the design, actually goes really well, and I actually made my peace with this squared edge design. So the premium feel is there, but do notice that this glass back actually attracts a lot of fingerprints. So if at all you don't like to use a case and those fingerprints and smudges bother you a lot, then I would suggest go for the white or this mint green color, because on this light color the fingerprints and smudges are not that prominent. I remember on my iPhone 12 mini, that which was in the blue color, the new blue color, I had to keep on wiping the back of my phone, and still it did not get rid of all the fingerprints. It used to look dirty all the time. Also, one more thing on the iPhone 12 mini that I felt was the buttons were not that clicky. If you might have seen my previous videos, I had mentioned this point. But on the iPhone 12, I do feel the buttons are a lot comfortable, and also they do not stick out that much. And I do not have problems with the clicking of the buttons whatsoever. I think the iPhone 12 mini, as it's a new form factor, that's why it did face a lot of challenges. But with the iPhone 12 regular, I think the design is really good, and it does justify the price point that it comes with. The other thing of the design that I can say is that this device is significantly lighter than its predecessors. And I think this actually plays a vital role in our day-to-day usage, because the weight does matter a lot, and just because it's lighter, I can use this phone for longer periods of time. And the best thing about the design that I love is the sides or the corners of the phone. These aluminum edges actually are so smooth, and you can easily tell that this is a premium segment flagship phone. Let's talk about the display, and I'm really glad that this time they went with the OLED option even on the regular iPhone 12 and the 12 mini series, because I think this plays a vital role, and I can easily see the difference between the old LCD display and this OLED display. And we no longer have to buy the Pro version just to get an OLED display. So the media consumption on this device is really good. The colors are also a bit punchier, still on the natural side, not as punchy as the Samsung phones, but still the viewing experience is pleasant. What I'm not a fan of is the new ceramic shield though, because I literally did not notice that much of a difference between the old OLED displays and the new ceramic shield display. Yes, the purpose of the ceramic shield display is to make the glass more tough, but what's the use if it's more prone to scratches now? And I remember on the iPhone 12 mini that I actually got a scratch, and I'm so glad that the person I sold it to did not notice that. I'm still not a big fan of these ceramic shield displays. So it's not a deal breaker though, because whenever you get this, then you can just put on a screen protector, but make sure you do that as soon as you buy this phone. The next thing is the biometrics. I love the Face ID on Apple iPhones, because I think this is the most secure biometric out there, and also the fastest out there, because no other fingerprint scanner, I mean, even though on the OnePlus, if you see, they have the optical fingerprint sensor, so that is really fast, but not as secure as the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner that the Samsung has, but it's not that fast. So somewhere you have to make the compromise. But when it comes to the Face ID on Apple iPhones, it's just so fluent. However, in current times, it does become a bit of a bummer, because whenever we are wearing masks, then getting into your phone can be a bit difficult sometimes. So you either have to remove your mask or use the good old passcode. But I hope this situation gets improved soon. But for now, I do wish that it would have been better if they provided a fingerprint scanner on the power button, if not under the display. By the way, leaks and rumors do suggest that the iOS 13 would. That's for a whole another video. Now when it comes to the biometrics, there's also one thing that I always hope for, but it didn't happen and would never ever happen, is that Apple could have used this logo as a back fingerprint scanner, especially on the older iPhones, not on this device, as this is more centered out. But in the older versions, the Apple logo was a bit on the upper side, and it could have been easily used as a fingerprint scanner. Now I'm glad that Apple did not go with the high refresh rate on these iPhones, because I actually do not feel the need of that. Now again, I'll mention the iPhone 12 mini here. Users and even myself have reported that there are some grounding issues in the iPhone 12 mini in some of the pieces out there, and that is why the screen does not feel that smooth and fluent. The 60Hz refresh rate display actually feels even more slower. But on the iPhone 12 regular, I have had no such issues so far. And I actually understand what other people say, that this 60Hz display does feel like an almost 90Hz display. So I think I would prefer the refresh rate of this phone even more than a 120Hz refresh rate of a Samsung phone or some other phone, because what happens is, the way how this phone is made with the processor and all that we'll discuss later, it does not lag that much. And even though some phones come with a high refresh rate display like the 90Hz or 120Hz, they sometimes do lag and stutter, so the overall experience gets taken away. So just to mention, no higher refresh rate displays, it's fine. Now coming to the performance of this phone, I don't think I need to mention this point that the A14 Bionic is simply a breeze. Anything that you throw at this phone, it handles really well. However, I have noticed some stutters and lags while playing a couple of games like Asphalt and even Call of Duty. Probably this might be due to my Wi-Fi connection, but then those stutters and frame drops should not be there considering how powerful this chipset is. So probably this is an iOS 14.4 issue because I'm running the latest iOS 14.4 as of now. Probably some more optimizations have to be made, but yeah, that's what it is now. So even though this is a very powerful chipset and it can be much better in the future as well, as of now it is facing some of the hiccups. But yeah, just to mention one thing, I have rendered a lot of videos on this phone, 4K 30 FPS and even 4K 60 FPS videos, and I was very much pleased with the rendering times that this phone gave me. And the fact that in LumaFusion you can stream through 4K 60 FPS videos also really smoothly without any stutters or anything is actually a big plus point for me. And that is where actually this processor shines, and I'm really glad that it's there. I'm really glad that that horsepower is there. So whenever in the future the software optimizations come in, I think this would be almost close to perfect. Now talking about the software that this phone runs is, I am running on the latest iOS 14.4, and I would say that a lot of things have improved when it even comes to iOS 14 because there were a lot of bugs when iOS 14 was launched, and I was really disappointed in the iPhone 12 mini's performance, and mostly because of the iOS 14 issues. iOS 14.4 however has become much smoother now, but there are still some things in iOS, and probably this could be of the iOS apps issue, not entirely the iOS. But there are small things that do not happen in Android and bug me sometimes on this phone. Things like when you're updating apps, all those apps are kept on hold. You cannot use those apps. This does not happen in Android. I mean, unless and until that app gets picked up to get updated, you can use that app, but not on iOS. Another thing is about sending some media to someone on WhatsApp. I mean, while it's sending, you can't use WhatsApp. This does not happen in Android. When you just have to give the command to send, and it sends that in the background, and you can still use WhatsApp. So all these small things that are there in iOS do bug me sometimes, and it is mostly because iOS still does not support background apps that much. If you notice, even though this has 4 GB RAM, it does not optimize that RAM that well, and most of the apps that you have running in background, they reload or they refresh. This does help a lot in battery, which we'll come to in a bit, but it's a compromise that you need to make, and if you can live with that, then that's fine. This is especially for those people who need to keep a lot of apps open in the background, who like to do a lot of multitasking. Then you might need to rethink as of now because that optimization is not there. And considering the battery that this phone comes with, I don't think Apple will go ahead to make that optimization ahead even in the future as well. Because talking about battery life, now let's come to battery life. Just because it does not support background app refresh that much, the battery life is really amazing. If you see the battery mAh capacity, it's actually really shameful, I would say, especially as per 2021 standards. But in real life battery usage, I would say this performs much better than even the phones, Android phones that come with 4000 or 5000 mAh battery. And the fact that this does not support high refresh rate also helps the battery a lot. And the fact that it does not support background app refresh that much also helps the battery a lot. So I would say Apple has done a really good job in battery optimization because even with such a small battery, I am able to get through almost 2 days with this phone. So on moderate to heavy usage, you can easily get through the day with this phone. So if you charge in the morning, then you have to charge in the next morning. Then this is, I'm talking about moderate to heavy usage. But if you're using this phone carefully and also with the battery saver options and all such compromises, if you are willing to make, then you can easily make this phone last 2 days. Let's quickly talk about the speakers on this phone, and these are one of the best speakers that I've heard. The bass is not that prominent. I think the Pro models get that full bassy sounding feel, but still it's more than good enough. It does get plenty loud, and I think you won't have any problems with that speaker. Just quickly to touch base on 5G. So I do not live in a 5G region, so I have never used 5G on this phone. But on 4G LTE, it's just 4G LTE. But I do think that really affects the battery life a lot, and it really helps in preserving battery life on my phone. Probably one of the reasons that I'm able to get 2 days with this phone. So for all the 5G folks out there, I probably can't help you now. So the next thing is the camera, which is actually one of the best things of this phone. There, I said it. This is one of the most reliable cameras out there. So when it comes to daylight stills, there is no issue at all, and that is actually pretty obvious. When it comes to low light images as well, the Smart HDR3 and the Deep Fusion actually work really well, and the night vision is in the night mode. So night mode is also really good. However, turning on the night mode, even though now you do get the option to turn on the night mode by yourself, but that option does not pop up sometimes when you need it, because see, I'm a person at night, sometimes I like to control night mode, and this is something that you can do in other phones. So sometimes when I want to use a night mode algorithm, I wanted to do that long exposure thing, sometimes the option does not pop up at all, but when it does pop up, it works brilliantly. And I'm glad that Apple went with the ultra wide camera on this phone, because the digital zoom is more than good enough. It goes up to 5 times digital zoom for the stills, and for the video it goes up to 3 times digital zoom. And this is one of the most lossless digital zooms that I have seen on a smartphone camera. Yes, a zoom lens does help, especially if you guys know I am coming from the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, from which I am recording this phone as usual. You know, when you have that periscope lens zoom, you do get used to it, and sometimes you do feel the need of that extra zoom, and I do feel that need on this phone as well. But coming from a person who does not have that habit of using a zoom lens, you won't face any issues at all, and I'm also getting used to this phone. The ultra wide camera is pretty standard, I would say. I mean, even in low light it does produce some noise. It's just something good to have. Now coming to videos, man, this phone, as they always say, iPhones have always excelled in videos, and this is no exception. And I'm so glad Apple went with the Dolby Vision HDR route. I think that really helps in detailing out all the minor details that you are capturing in your video, even in low light. So I think it's a pretty good thing. At first I was a bit skeptical, because I thought you always have to convert that Dolby Vision HDR into SDR and then share, but now that's not an issue. I've shared many videos directly from Dolby Vision HDR, and you don't always have to convert them. Unless and until you want to edit them and then convert to SDR, you do have that option, but you don't have to. So if you shoot a lot of videos, then I think that Dolby Vision HDR is one of the main points that you should buy this phone. And this is also one of the things that I've noticed on iPhones, any iPhone to say actually, that the videos are really stable. Even 4K 30 FPS videos are really stable. It does not feel like it's a low frame rate video. If you compare the same thing with any Android phone, especially Samsung phones to say, the 4K 30 FPS does not feel that smooth, especially on the viewfinder, because of the processors that you use actually. So again, that I mentioned before, that I love this chipset a lot, this A14 Bionic chip. It actually makes this phone worth it. Should you go for the iPhone 11 in 2021, or should you spend the extra and go for the iPhone 12? And many people have asked me this question, because the deal that the iPhone 11 comes with now is actually really tempting and actually even justifies the price. Well, when it comes to the iPhone 11, there are only a couple of compromises that you would need to make. Especially first thing is the LCD display. Well, that LCD display is not at all a bad display. It's one of the best LCD displays out there, and actually watching content on that LCD display is also not a bad thing at all. I mean, the colors are not that punchy, so it goes easy on your eyes. And to say even on the positive side, the muted colors also really help in media consumption, so it goes easy on your eyes. But the drawback is that as it's not an OLED display, turning on dark mode and stuff like that would only just be for aesthetic purposes. It won't be for battery saving and all that. The second drawback of getting an iPhone 11 over the iPhone 12 is night mode. Even though the night mode on the normal wide lens of the iPhone 11 is more than good enough, but you still don't get it on the ultra wide lens and also on the selfie camera. And I think especially as per 2021 standards, you should have that night mode on all the cameras. But rest of the features I would say are really good. The design is really good. You get wireless charging, you get spatial audio, You also get the zoom audio. Whenever you record videos and you zoom into your subject, the audio gets amplified, so that feature is also there. So the iPhone 11 is also pretty feature packed. So I think it mainly boils down to whether you want more reliability in your nighttime photos and even videos, then you should go for the iPhone 11 or even look at the Pro models. Now the conclusion is that the iPhone 12, even though it's actually really expensive and it does not come with a charger in the box, and also the ceramic shield is pretty weak when it comes to scratches, but because of the chipset that it has and also the cameras, I think it makes the experience a worthwhile experience. And if you're used to keeping your phone for at least 3 to 4 years, then the software updates are also guaranteed. And also, I think the quality of the images and videos that this phone takes, including the Dolby Vision HDR, I think you'll be really satisfied even 2 to 3 years down the line, considering all the innovations that the mobile tech industry has. That's it guys, hope you guys like this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated, and I'll also be putting out a review soon on the Apple Watch SE, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that as well. I'll catch you in the next one, peace.